Want to get more insight on the G8's plans for tackling the unrest in the Middle East and North Africa from someone with intimate knowledge of the region. Alia Moubayed spent her early career working in various government institutions in Lebanon, including the Central Bank and Ministry for Trade and Economy. She then spent 6 years as a senior economist at the World Bank. In 2008, Moubayed joined Barclays Capital, where she's now chief economist for the Middle East and North Africa. I'm pleased to say she's with me in the studio now. Alia, good to see you again. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
So, is a show of support from the international community likely to do much to help these regimes in the Middle East that are in the midst of such immense change right now?
I think a support from the international community, particularly from European and US partners, is necessary at this very critical period. Not only the financial support, but also the sort of support to institutional change that is necessary as transition to democracies unfold in these countries. Having said that, I think this support is necessary but not sufficient. What we need to see in the region is more of a coalition of the willing in those countries, bringing the institutional change into sustainable path of growth, and in order to resolve the very much structural problems that led to these unrest, and notably, basically, high level of unemployment, particularly youth unemployment, and really sort of reduce some of the high levels of debt that these countries are grappling with.
Given the level of instability that we're seeing, not just in Libya, where the conflict is ongoing, some officials now indicating it could actually be in its final stages, but even if you look at Egypt and Tunisia, still a level of instability. Often in these situations, you don't have an opposition. The thing that was uniting them was the toppling of the regime, the status quo. Now that that has gone, there is very little to unite them. So what is the risk of the economic problems that brought about the unrest in the first place, high unemployment, high levels of debt, getting worse now?
Absolutely, and this is the risk is relatively high, as we saw. I mean, just today the unemployment rates in Egypt for Q1 has risen, and in Tunisia we're likely to see the same. The risks to see the deterioration in economic activity over this period are relatively high, and they will weigh on the political process and on the political agenda of parties, we believe, throughout this period. And this is why the support that the international community, the regional Arab countries are providing to these countries will be essential to minimize the cost of the transition. However, what we need is a credible set of policies that the transitional governments need to put in place in order basically to make people and those new emerging political elites to realize that there are credible policies that the governments can implement in order to reduce some of these problems and reduce the risk moving forward.
When you speak about political and economic support, particularly from the G8, the international community, is there an issue? For example, let's take Libya specifically, where there isn't enough clarity in terms of who you are dealing with. When you talk about the emerging elite, who are they?
Obviously, I mean, any transition, any revolution will see a very changing political landscape. These people are generally emerging from popular organization. Now, the case of Libya is particularly difficult because of the country. But if you look at Egypt, if you look at Tunisia, but more so Egypt, I mean, these political elites are there. They are grassroots organization. Maybe they didn't have the voice that they wanted to have in the past,
but that is now emerging.
Exactly. This is what the opportunity they have today.
Just a very quick one, Alia, on external shocks to the region, food and oil prices.
Yes.
Could this still be a problem going forward?
That's certainly a prevailing problem that these countries have to deal with, particularly countries that are importers of food and oil: Morocco, Jordan, Egypt, Tunisia. Many of these countries are trying to mitigate these shocks through raising subsidies, and that will definitely weigh on their fiscal capacity or fiscal deficit. Hence, the importance of these transitory external financial support, basically to allow these fiscally constrained countries to have a bigger margin of maneuver to tackle the immediate sort of projects that are necessary for a quick growth recovery.
Alia Moubayed, you really put that into perspective so well. Thank you very much indeed.